This woman, whose name is Ruja Ignatova, the self-proclaimed crypto queen, now that is cool. Calling yourself the crypto queen. Back in 2014, this woman launched a cryptocurrency called OneCoin. I think this article puts it really well. OneCoin, which was launched in 2014, allegedly defrauded investors of more than $4 billion over 3 years before Ignatova disappeared. So basically, this cryptocurrency, it was a scam. I know, right? Basically, it didn't have any sort of blockchain securing transactions, and coins were essentially minted out of thin air. Bitcoin, by contrast, is secured by a global network of miners who maintain a public ledger or blockchain so that people can actually, do transactions with Bitcoin, which is, the purpose of a currency. I think also somewhere it says that, there was some sort of, pyramid scheme aspect to it, where, you could get additional cryptocurrency if you recruited other people to OneCoin. $4 billion. People invested $4 billion in OneCoin, and it wasn't even secured by the blockchain. That you think that would be the first thing that you would check if you were investing in a cryptocurrency is what kind of blockchain do they have, or do they even have a blockchain, or how does it work, or whatever, Yeah. So, anyways, now this woman. I can't even remember her name. Where is it? Ruja Ignatova. Yes, thank you. She's on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. For a variety of crimes, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, conspiracy to commit securities fraud, and securities fraud. I mean, that seems relatively tame when you consider that the other people on the top 10 list include cartel leaders, murderers, and terrorists. But at the same time, she scammed people out of $4 billion. And it does lead you to the question of how did she convince so many people to invest in a cryptocurrency that's basically a scam. And I feel like that question would take a very deep dive. It would require a very deep dive into this, which I don't want to do. But, I mean, I can guess that OneCoin was launched in 2014. And that was probably around the time when Bitcoin, took off, right? And no one knew anything about cryptocurrencies. But people were paying attention to cryptocurrencies all of a sudden because of Bitcoin. So I guess they were just excited by another cryptocurrency that promised that they would get rich. I probably should have actually done more research on this now that I think about it. I don't read the articles ahead of time. Oh, God. She's also wanted in Europol, which is basically the European Union. My second question is... Well, some background info. She has been missing since 2017. That's 5 years. How has she been missing for so long? How has she been hiding for so long? I wouldn't even know what to do to hide from every government in Europe and the United States. That wouldn't even be fun. Even if I did have $4 billion. It wouldn't even be fun because I would be worried that the FBI was going to arrest me all of the time, every waking moment I'd be worried. The other thing that's weird is that she, this woman, Ignatova, whenever she would talk about Bitcoin, she would always frame Bitcoin as the big rival of OneCoin. She was it's going to be OneCoin is going to be like Bitcoin, but it's going to be better, basically. Well, it turns out that this woman, Ruja Ignatova, might be the biggest holder of Bitcoin. um, yeah, she secretly amassed billions of dollars in a rival currency before disappearing. It says back in November of 2021, when cryptocurrencies peaked, she would have had $15 billion in Bitcoin, which is insane. Yeah, she has 230,000 Bitcoins, which would make her one of the currency's largest holders. But of course, after the recent cryptocurrency crash, that it would only be around $5 billion. But that still is a very large amount of money, still more than enough to help her stay hidden. It's a very, very confusing and dense story. But that's the brief summary of it. I hope I did a okay job. But I do have more cryptocurrency news for you. That's very exciting. I know it's your favorite kind of news. Next article. This Bored Ape crypto restaurant has stopped accepting crypto. This is a restaurant in California, in Long Beach, I think it said. It's called Bored and Hungry, and it's themed after the Bored Apes Yacht Club. What does that even mean? The restaurant resembled all aesthetics of the crypto age, including walls adorned with memes and tableware bearing Bored Ape NFT art. That also meant embracing the notion of paying for physical items was the newly popular digital currency. The menu showcased the restaurant's food items alongside its price in both US dollars and cryptocurrency. It opened back in April. I'm pretty sure it didn't anticipate that cryptocurrency was going to crash. Yeah. Because nowadays, you'll no longer find references to the cryptocurrency on the joint's menu. They're only shown in US dollars only. That's very, very sad for this poor restaurant. But I mean, at the same time, like, couldn't you just charge more of the cryptocurrency, like adjust the prices to match whatever the cryptocurrency is worth, and then like trade it for money right away? I think this article says that not a lot of people were using the option to pay in cryptocurrency anyways. Most people were paying in good old US dollars. And this was surprising to me. This quote: "Meanwhile, the few patrons that the Times spoke to showed very little interest in the e-currency at all. Many noted that when the digital currency was a payment option, they still opted for US dollars." Which that is a very interesting quote to me, because that implies that a lot of people that are going to this restaurant do not care at all about cryptocurrency. I could not imagine going to a cryptocurrency themed restaurant while not like caring at all about cryptocurrency. Maybe the food's good, I don't know. Okay, that's it about cryptocurrency, I promised. Oh, what happened? Oh, 4th of July, that's what else that happened since the last episode. It happened yesterday of this recording, as a matter of fact. Oh, I'm sure it was a very happy 4th of July for everyone, and nothing bad happened, right? Ha ha ha, let's move on to our next article. Oh god, this doesn't look good. 4th of July weekend marred by violent shootings across the U.S. Crap! Why does this keep happening? I'm not laughing at the shootings. I'm laughing at the absurdity. Shoot. If only there was something we could do. Yeah, let's review everything that happened, because this article lists a whole bunch of incidents that happened I think all on July 4th. The most horrific of which is in this Chicago suburb of Highland Park, where 6 people were killed and 38 others were injured when a gunman opened fire from a rooftop onto a parade. So there was that. In New York City, 13 people were shot and 3 killed in 3 incidents across the city. In Kansas City, Missouri, 6 people were shot in 3 separate incidents overnight Monday, and 2 people died in the violence. A shooting following a concert at the T-Mobile Center near the Power and Light District left 4 people wounded just after midnight. 2 others were shot in separate shootings in the city. In Richmond, Virginia, 6 people, 4 men and 2 women, were shot early morning on West Broad Street. In Haltom City, Texas, 3 officers and 1 civilian were injured in the shooting night of the 4700 block of Diamond Oaks Drive North. One person was killed and 4 others were injured in Kenosha, Wisconsin, when gunfire erupted around 10:20 p.m. in the 6300 block of 25th Avenue. And I think, is that all of them? In Indianapolis, an 8-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy playing in a bounce house were shot during a 4th of July cookout near East 38th Street in North Arlington Avenue just before 7 p.m. Is that everything? Is that everything? On the East Coast, I keep scrolling down, and there's still more incidents. On the East Coast, 2 Philadelphia area law enforcement officers were injured in a shooting that erupted as tens of thousands of people celebrated July 4th. And in Sacramento, California, 1 man was killed and 4 were wounded in an early morning shooting outside a nightclub. Great. Is that everything? Is that everything? Did we get through everything? That was all yesterday. It just seems like a lot. It's just a shame that there's nothing that we can do. Although they did pass, Joe Biden signed it into law that legislation last week. What is it all? What is all included in that? I can't remember. Yeah, the bill that was passed last week provides grants to states for red flag laws, enhances background checks to include juvenile records, and closes the boyfriend loophole by keeping guns away from unmarried dating partners convicted of abuse. It will also require enhanced background checks for people aged 18 to 21 and funding for youth mental health services. I mean, all good things, but they're not... I don't know how much they're going to prevent gun violence. Very sad, is all I have to say. And very complicated. And my head hurts just thinking about it. God damn, that's a lot of people. Or that's a lot of incidents where people were just shot. But I guess that's America for you. Now that's the American experience. Is to not know if you're going to die. Let's move on to the next story about 4th of July, which is a little more cheerful. This guy... Wait, what? Joey Chestnut, which doesn't sound like a real name to me, but that's his name, Joey Chestnut. A competitive eater. He won the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest by eating 63 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, which was 15 and a half more than his nearest competitor, Gregory Esper. But it was still short of last year when he managed to eat 76 hot dogs. And Joey Chestnut, I still can't believe that's his name. Like, I don't mean to be mean, but that doesn't sound like a real name. Anyways, it sounds like a name I would just, like, make up. Joey Chestnut won despite wearing a surgical boot due to a leg injury. and admitted it caused him some pain throughout the competition. He also had to deal with several protesters rushing the stage, including an incident where Joey Chestnut had to briefly put one protester into a chokehold before security removed him. Joey Chestnut is a badass. And there was also a woman champion of the competitive eating, Miki Soto? I don't know. She ate 40 hot dogs and buns for her eighth win in the last 9 years. I don't, understand competitive eating. How is eating 63 hot dogs even fun? That just sounds very uncomfortable. And in 10 minutes, that's 6 hot dogs a minute. That's more than 6 hot dogs a minute, which would mean you're eating a hot dog more than or less than every. You're eating one hot dog in less than 10 seconds for 10 minutes. That doesn't even sound fun. But I guess whatever makes you happy. Let's move on to our next story, which is sad, but in a weird way. Attorney Genital. Excuse me. Let me start over. Attorney General Ken Paxton says he will defend Texas sodomy law if Supreme Court revisits Lawrence versus Texas. Supreme Court. It's been in the news a lot lately. They've been real busy doing a whole lot of unpopular opinions, or doing a lot of unpopular rulings, I should say. And the Supreme Court has teased that they're going to do a whole lot of other very unpopular stuff in the following months. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas questions a number of the High Court's past rulings, including Obergefell versus Hodges, which established the right of same-sex couples to marry, and Lawrence versus Texas, a 2003 decision in which the court ruled against the state of Texas regarding a 1973 law criminalizing the act of sodomy. Oh, there's also Griswold versus Connecticut, which established the right of married couples to use contraception without government interference. So, wait, does Clarence Thomas want to make married couples using birth control illegal? Is that what he is implying here? Does he think it's unconstitutional for married couples to use contraception? Is that what he's implying? Also, sodomy? Who out there is like, yeah, I really want to. I think it would be a good idea to make sodomy illegal. You know what? I agree with him. I agree with Judge Clarence Thomas. I think we should go further, though. I think we should make all sexual acts illegal. So then the human race just fucking dies off. So let's look at the interview between the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, and Leland Vittert, right? And I'll just read you off the quotes from this article. Quote, this is from Leland Vittert, so the interviewer. I'm sure you've read Justice Thomas's concurrence where he said that there were a number of other of these issues. Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell he felt needs to be looked at again, Vittert told Paxton. Obviously, the Lawrence case came from Texas. Would you, as an Attorney General, be comfortable... General. Did I say genital again? Attorney General, not Attorney Genital. It's all... The sodomy's got me... Okay, anyways. Attorney General, be comfortable defending a law that once again outlawed sodomy. That questioned Lawrence again, or Griswold, or gay marriage. that came up from the state legislator to put that on the test. What Judge Thomas said, I don't think I got anything. I don't think anyone understood what I just said, but we're just going to keep pushing through. And this is from the Attorney General Paxton. Quote, yeah, I mean, I think there are all kind of issues here, but certainly the Supreme Court has stepped into issues that I don't think there's any constitutional provision dealing with, Paxton responded. There were legislative issues, and this is one of those issues, and there may be more. So it would depend on the issues and dependent on what the state law had said at the time. For the sake of time here, you wouldn't... Oh no, Vittert, this is the interviewer. He asked, quote, for the sake of time here, you wouldn't rule out that if the state legislator passed the same law that Lawrence overturned on sodomy, you wouldn't have any problem then defending that and taking that case back to the Supreme Court? And Paxton responded, quote, yeah, look, my job is to defend state law, and I'll continue to do that. That is my job under the Constitution, and I'm certainly willing and able to do that. Why is every, headline about, the Texas government bad? Making sodomy illegal, that is, insane. I don't even know how you could argue for that position. Doesn't it seem like the government should not have the authority to regulate something like that? I don't know. Also, you can't make gay marriage illegal. It's broadly, I think most Americans support gay marriage, and there's already a ton of same-sex couples that have gotten married. Would they have to revoke their marriage license? That's gonna make a lot of people happy. San Francisco couple gets $1,500 fine for parking in their driveway, despite doing so for nearly 40 years. So yeah, apparently in San Francisco, it's illegal to park in the front of a house if there's no garage. So if you do have a garage and you have a driveway leading up to it, and the driveway is in front of your house, then it's okay to park in the driveway in front of the garage. But if you don't have a garage, you just have the driveway and it's just a carport, then you can't park your car, which seems very weird. And it was something that wasn't enforced for 40 years for this couple. But this article says that someone complained that these people were using that they had their car parked in a carport in front of their house, and they got a parking ticket for $1,542, plus another $250 per day if they didn't get the car off the car pad. And the house was built back in 1910. So they tried to appeal to the government of San Francisco. They tried to appeal to the planning department, and the planning department said, you have to prove that the parking was a historic use on the lot, and then they might get a waiver. So they found a photo of their daughter from 34 years ago with a car visible on the carport. But apparently it's not old enough. 34 years ago isn't old enough to be considered historical. How old does something need to be considered historical? To find a photo from more than 34 years ago, there's just not a lot of photos that were taken in the early 1900s. I don't know if you know that. They found an aerial photo of the area, and there was the house of this couple in the photo. This photo was from 1938, and it showed, it says, quote, what Ed, which is the person who owns the house, is sure is a horse and buggy or a car pulling into his driveway. But the planning department said that the photo wasn't clear enough, And they just go back and forth like this for a while. Well, it says that the city did close the case without charging any penalties after the couple got the car off the carpet and kept it off. And they need to build... The city says that they could build a covered carport or garage to park there. It's just very weird to me. Like, if you can't park your car in a driveway in front of your house, but if there's a garage there, then it's okay. It's very strange. I don't know. And $1,500? Very, very strange. Minnesota lawmakers voted to legalize THC edibles. Some did it accidentally. That's a good headline. So basically, there's a new law in Minnesota that lets people that are over the age of 21 buy and consume food and beverages with a small amount of hemp-derived THC, so less than 5 milligrams of hemp-derived THC per serving, no more than 50 milligrams per package, so not a lot. But there was a Minnesota State Senator, Jim Abler, a Republican from Anoka, that said he didn't realize that this would allow THC-infused edibles of any kind and thought it would only apply to Delta-8 THC products. Delta-8 THC products are different from Delta-9 because I don't think you can get... it doesn't produce the same amount of high as Delta-9. And Delta-9 is actually... Delta-8 is actually, I think, legal at the federal level. It's very weird, though, that as a legislator, that you wouldn't, like... Did he not read the law? That inspires a lot of confidence in me. That this guy didn't read the law, but still voted on it. Okay, so this was a story a few weeks ago where Elon Musk was... sent out like a memo to all of the employees that work like office type jobs at Tesla, and he said that no one is allowed to work from home anymore. Everybody has to go to a physical location. They have to like commute to a physical location, and if they didn't want to do that, they would have to quit basically, or they'd be fired or whatever, you know. But the problem was during COVID-19. Tesla hired a ton of people, so when employees went back into the office after a hiatus of 2 years, there were a ton of problems with the office. There was not enough parking, there were not enough desks for everybody, and the people that did have desks, the Wi-Fi was just terrible. So there's like all of these problems, and none of them would exist if people could work from home. I don't know why they have to be, why so many companies have to be like so strict on this. If you can be just as productive working from home as working from an office. But I think from what I've heard, like, I don't think productivity has declined much during COVID when people actually had to work from home, right? It's just very frustrating, though, that they decide to use this, like, strict language. Like, you can't... you have to come into work, and then they're unprepared for people to come into work, you know? It's very... would that be ironic? Maybe. Let's move on to our next story. That's enough of this story. Okay. An age-old ritual, Mexican mayor weds alligator to secure abundance. This happened in southern Mexico. Very traditional. Okay, there you see the alligator in a wedding dress. in a small Mexican town of San Pedro. Apparently this is like a tradition in this town that goes back a very long time, where the mayor has to marry an alligator, and the alligator I think is supposed to represent like the earth and like Mother Nature and things like that, and it's supposed to like secure like abundance for the town. The only reason I bring up this story is because, like, look at this poor alligator. This poor alligator is like, what's going on? I genuinely want to know if this alligator was enjoying himself or was just stressed out. I don't think we can have any answers. I'd like to think that he was enjoying himself, or that she was enjoying himself. Giant concrete-eating snails trigger Florida quarantine. One of the most invasive pests on the planet. These snails are... Wait, what is it called? Giant African land snail. Okay. Here you see a picture. These are big snails. You see why they call them giant African land snails. They are just horrible for the environment where they are invasive species, causing agricultural and environmental damage to wherever it's found. It can lay thousands of eggs during its lifetime and can travel by clinging to vehicles and trash. So they're very hard to get rid of. And they can also carry salmonella and also a parasite called rat lungworm, which has been known to cause meningitis in humans. So part of Pasco County in Florida calls for nurseries, solid waste facilities, trash haulers, and landscapers to abide by certain conditions, including reporting snail detections, applying pesticides, and allowing inspection of equipment. So it's actually like not that big of a quarantine, as you'd first think when reading the headline. But this is the third time that these snails have shown up. I think in Florida, once in 1975 and once in 2021. What's the deal with all the invasive species lately? I feel like I've done a lot of stories about invasive species in the past couple of weird news reports. But so there were 2 hikers that had to be rescued from a hiking trail. They were hiking up Lake Como Road on June 27th, last Monday, I think. And it's a very challenging route. It's a 8.3 mile out and back trail. And at one point they started experiencing, hypothermia, and they had to call for help. And when help arrived, one of the hikers started throwing up and was severely dehydrated with a headache. So they were rescued, whatever. It was very challenging because at the time, there was very heavy rain, so like the rock on the trail was very slippery, and this quote is interesting. On the descent down, there was a river running down the entire road, says an official in the news release. The hikers, essentially, they weren't prepared for their trek. They didn't pack any extra clothing to stay dry. Their tent had no rainfly, and the hikers also didn't have extra food or water, and they didn't have extra layers to survive the night temperatures. These hikers, they said that they didn't understand why it was so cold and rainy in Texas. Well, it turns out they were in Colorado. They were confused. They were hiking in Colorado, but they thought they were in Texas. And they were like, well, we didn't bring any cold weather gear because it's so hot in Texas. That's the quote. That's what they said. Quote, it's so hot in Texas. And that's why they didn't bring any cold weather gear. They never checked any weather forecasts. You think like the basic preparedness of hiking, like any type of hiking, would require you to know like where you are, including what state you're in. Anyways, let's move on to the next story. This is the last story, and you guys know I always like to end on a real banger. And I deliver it. It's a 2-parter actually. Today is loose kangaroo wrangled in Louisiana, June 30th. Okay, there's a kangaroo hopping around. Very, very actually common experience to just see kangaroos just like in America, just like wandering about. But that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, Louisiana, definitely not a place you'd think to see kangaroo. Especially since kangaroos cannot legally be kept as a pet in Louisiana. So I feel like someone's going to be getting into trouble soon here. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? And how did this kangaroo even get loose? Well, we actually have the answers to these questions. With this article, which came out a few days later on July 1st, Louisiana kangaroo was released from a closure by a parrot. There was a... so basically, there's this place where people like rescue like exotic animals. It's mostly exotic birds. The article sounds like they mostly rescue exotic birds and return them to their natural habitat. I guess there's also a kangaroo, but one of the parrots learned how to unlock the kangaroo cage. You think you would like find another way to lock the cage. Maybe they didn't know that the parrot can unlock the cage, but that just seemed like a very comedic series of events where this parrot unlocks this kangaroo's cage and the kangaroo just immediately leaves and is lost. The article also says it's not clear if it's legal for this this nonprofit to own a kangaroo, because maybe they'll have a conception or an exception because it's a nonprofit. I would think probably, right? But there you go. A kangaroo was released into the Louisiana streets because of a parrot. And that's all of the news I have today.